Think they're going to give him something, or they shouldn't?
I don't think so.
Absolutely
no,
not.
listen, that's life. I mean, he
The
didn't.
1 week he stayed out.
He could have borrowed $1.
That's losing.
Maybe they could throw him $500,000. You know, just out of
Why?
pity.
No,
You don't think so?
Don't.
Do you have trouble now masturbating because of the germ thing? Like, are you now not even wanting to touch your own penis?
No, I will touch my own penis.
But then you do a scrub down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
Yeah.
But that could be fun, too.
I don't want to get off topic.
Down.
The scrub down could be fun? No, I scrub down my hands, not my penis.
Oh, I soap everything.
When you pee, do you touch your penis? I don't. I use my underwear to hold it.
No.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That way you don't have to get involved.
No,
But
I don't
are
touch
you-
anything. And then I'm always afraid. This is the thing.
What?
I'll go to a public restroom, you know, and I'll pee. Now, I've got it down to an art where, you know, I'll kick open the door. I always go in the cubicle.
I kick
don't
Nothing,
open the
you
door,
touch
and
nothing.
I can lift any toilet seat with my feet.
I lift it with my seat. I lift it with my feet. Wait, I just undo my zipper. Nothing touches my zipper. I don't touch my penis. I can just open my
Pull down
fly.
your- right.
Yeah, and that's it. And then if I want to use the fabric to hold it, name it.
Right.
I aim it. I piss. I can kick the flusher and walk out the door. Now here's the thing.
Me too.
People recognize me.
Yeah.
And I don't wash my hands because I don't want to touch
Because
the
you
sink.
haven't touched anything.
I didn't touch anything. And I usually don't even flush because I don't want the spray back.
So they think you're disgusting.
You don't flush.
But meanwhile, you're
So
not...
you leave it there.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Oh,
That's
my
terrible.
God.
Well, I'm afraid.
You
I'm
flush
afraid
with your foot.
No, I would, but in the public restrooms, there's not a seat that closes it. It's the open.
Right, and
Howie.
he's afraid of the spray.
I don't want the spray in the room.
Time to hire a flusher, a personal flusher for you. All right, so here's my question.
So I think a
deal or
lot
no
of people,
deal-
if they watch this, if people have seen me in the restroom, I'm not a pig for not washing my hands.
you haven't touched anything.
I
We
don't touch
understand.
anything.
Same with me. Deal or no deal goes on the air.
Right.
Is it such an instant hit that now all of a sudden you're not playing those little shitty TPs anymore?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I went to
Overnight.
double shows overnight.
And
it
now
was huge.
And so now you keep up the schedule of doing hundreds of stand-up shows a year.
I still do it.
Why? Because you want the money,
Or you love it, or what?
You know, that's my, it's funny, it's like your article, that's my connection to people. I'm not social. I don't really, I'm not comfortable around people.
But you're comfortable on stage.
And I like to be, I want to be accepted. So I like that I'm on stage and they all came to see me.
But do you
and
like,
I hear that laughter.
But do you like being on stage?
I love being on stage. It's the only place I'm really comfortable. It's
see.
the only place in life that I feel totally comfortable.
To get that kind of comfort level, at what point in your life do you get that? Because when you're a young stand-up starting out, I guess what you started doing this in high school?
No, you keep saying high school. I was 23.
23 you started doing
Yeah.
it. Okay. At first, you're
Been
probably...
32 years.
Aren't you a nervous, neurotic mess when you first start doing
I
it?
was so neurotic, and that was my act.
Were you funny
know?
right away?
You know, without knowing why. I was funny because I was so fucking scared and I was contorting and, you know, I didn't have an act and people would kind of giggle at my nervousness and I'd go, what are you giggling? And that was my thing,
Right, yeah.
you know, and I don't know if people remember it. And then I had all this
Right.
shit I was holding, you know,
Yeah.
but that was just fear and adrenaline and I'd have gloves on me because I didn't want to touch things and out of nothing to do, I'd pull
See,
a
I
rubber
never
glove and
got that.
I'd pull it on my head and blow it up and they laughed at that and I went, that's funny, okay, that'll be my closing. You know?
So you never fantasized about being a stand-up comic?
Never, no.
Why at 23 suddenly do you get this idea?
When I was 23 years old, in the mid-70s, there was this, here too, in New York, there was this comedy boom.
Right.
For all of a sudden, you know, Freddie Prinze got Chico and the Man,
Right.
and Robin Williams got,
More.
and I was watching the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. They'd say every night from the Comedy Store, and these clubs started. Like, here you had Catch a Rising Star, and
Right.
and in Toronto we had Yuck Yucks. It's the same club Norm came out of.
Right.
And I went down to see it because I didn't like disco, I didn't like dancing, I
What
didn't
were
like
you doing?
clubs.
What were you preparing for in life?
I had carpet stores.
Okay. You had carpet stores.
Yeah.
You owned carpet
I
stores.
owned a carpet-
At 23, you owned a carpet store.
I was thrown out of school at 17. I don't have a GED.
You left high school.
I was forced to
Why?
because I have. Well, now it's my ADHD, but then I was just impulsive. I was doing.
And you were doing terribly
Pranks.
in school.
I was doing. I actually was pretty good at math and science, but my behavior was such that it was.
All right, so you owned a carpet store. You're a fantastic businessman, aren't you? People don't know that about you.
They don't know.
They don't.
I'm brilliant.
So you kind of are. I mean, to 23 to already be the
A
boss.
store?
Well,
Yeah.
I worked. When I got thrown out of school, I worked at a carpet store, and I worked at one as a salesman.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about carpet, and I'm colorblind.
Right. Perfect.
It was perfect.
This will be good for you.
Yes, this will be good, but I knew how to sell, and I loved selling. I know how to, you know...
Salesman is worth his weight in gold, isn't he? Yes.
But I was light. So, and then I met all the suppliers, and I was friendly with them, and I said, how do I get into this? Can you supply me if I go sell? Why does the store have to have the overhead?
Was your boss mad at you for going off and competing with him in essence?
No.
No, he didn't care.
He didn't care.
Is that store still around, the one you own? Did you sell it when you started going into stand-up comedy?
No, it's not around.
It's not around.
My partner took over, and I don't think it's even around. No.
Okay, so you're this carpet guy, and you say to yourself, hey, all these guys are I'm a funny guy.
No. We just went one night. It was I never went dancing. I didn't play sports or anything. And these comedy clubs were opening up. There was one called Yuck Yucks in Toronto.
Right.
And it was getting splashed all over the paper. And on a Saturday night, me and 3 friends said, let's go see a comedy show. I've never seen a stand-up comedy show live.
Right.
And we saw it, and it blew me away. And there were people my age on stage performing, and it was I never saw anything like this. And Mark Breslin, who owns it, he got up, he was the MC, and he said, on Monday nights at midnight, amateurs, if you think you can do this, why don't you come up and show your wares? And the 3 guys at the table with me said, why don't you try it Monday night? I said, okay. It was like a knee-jerk reaction, no thought of ever getting into the business.
Did you prepare for that night?
No, well, here's the thing. So I never even thought of what it would be.
Right.
So that night, I went home and I thought, what the fuck did I just say yes to? This will be fun. But then I thought, I'll make some jokes about, maybe a joke I heard David Brenner tell on The Tonight Show. Maybe I had no aspirations to make this a career.
Right.
I'll talk about something my mom said to me. I'll talk about something my friend said.
So you had a bit of an agenda.
A bit. And a bit is like very loose.
Like nothing.
Nothing.
Right.
And then so I go to the club, and we get there, and we watch a show, and then comes midnight, and now I'm like terrified. And I go backstage, and I heard him go, ladies and gentlemen, a new young comic. He's from the carpet business. Ladies and gentlemen, Howie Mandel. What credits did I have? I had
from his carpet store.
Yeah, you may have bought carpet from him.
You've seen recently at a carpet store?
And I walk on, and the light hits me, and I see people just sitting there looking at me.
Right.
And it was like, fuck. What the hell is it? And I started like and I saw my friends sitting there, and I started just laughing. And like, look at this. And they started laughing back at me. People were laughing, and I go, what? No, tell me, what are you laughing at? And they go, and then they were laughing more, and I go, what? Oh, this is me. Okay. That was my act.
Yeah.
I had nothing.
How long did you do that where you just laughed?
It was a 3-minute set.
But
I probably had one line that I don't remember.
But you were a hit because this idea of laughing, but that was spontaneous. Now, the next time you go on, you can't go on and just start laughing again and going, what?
Well, I wasn't used to it. He said, come back next week.
Yeah,
Mark
you're a
said,
hit.
come back. I'm a hit. With what? I don't really have an act.
Right.
So I went back, and then I started, I had done the voices. I do the Bobby voice, and those are things that I've been doing from the time I was a kid and in classes. So I started doing those. I didn't really have an act.
Weren't your friends shocked that you were this funny? Because you had never expressed the desire to be a stand-up comedian.
But then I found this, you know what? I got thrown out of school. I didn't have a lot of friends. I never really fit with anyone. I didn't like sports. I couldn't play sports. I couldn't really do anything. And I found this club of misfits.
Right.
There was all these people who needed attention and needed love from strangers and acceptance from strangers. So I just started hanging out there every single night.
Right.
And it was just to be there. Also, again, no aspiration of making this a career.
Right.
I thought I'll have a day job, and then at night I can go here and
So in essence, you put in your 10,000 hours, as they say, like with Outliers. So you put 10,000 hours into just hanging out with comedians, hearing how they think, watching them, studying them.
Yeah.
And it became more and more important to you, and you started to think about, hey, maybe I could do this after I go, what?
No, well, putting together an act.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was putting together an act like you would get together and like people would get together and have a basketball game at the Y. Never any thoughts of maybe being in the NBA. Just that was their hobby. That was their this was a fun thing. As it turns out, I go down to California on a vacation/business trip. I had these. I was always entrepreneurial, and I found this thing in Florida called the Uncle Sherman Flasher doll, which was made in California. And at that time, it was this novelty. I thought this is going to make me $1 million, and it was this stuffed doll that had a trench coat. And you open it up, and its dick and its balls were there.
Right. This
I
inspired you.
I got the rights. I got the rights to Canada to sell these.
Right.
Wow.
So I shipped them up. I bought a bunch, and I shipped them up, and they stopped them at the border because they thought it was pornographic material.
Right.
So I had to ship them back. So then I shipped them up. I told them to detach they were just cloth, the balls and the nuts, the dick and the
Sew
nuts.
them on when
and
they get back.
we'll reassemble them in Canada.
Right.
The dolls all shipped up. I had like a gross of dolls, and then they never shipped the nuts, and the nuts and the dicks got caught at the border. So I had to go down to California on a business trip.
That was your business.
That was my business.
That's
How
some
am I going to
business.
get the dicks into Canada?
Right.
And I stayed at the Hyatt on Sunset, which was right beside the Comedy Store, which was the mecca
Mecca.
for comedy. At that time, you have no idea what that was like. The lineups were around you'd go in there just to see a show. You would see Johnny Carson and Rodney Dangerfield,
Wow.
and Letterman was the host.
Wow, the MC.
And, well, he was the MC. Nobody really know who he was.
Yeah, right.
He had just moved out. He was a weatherman in
Wow.
Indiana, and Billy Crystal, and I mean, just the lineup in the main room. It was Buddy Rich and his orchestra, and Johnny Carson would be working out his stand. I mean, it was just
Insane.
and
Great night.
electric. And
Right.
so I went next door just to see this because I was on my vacation. And they said you could sign up for an amateur night, too. And I had done it in Toronto. And I thought I was 3,000 miles away from home. If I make a fool of myself,
Who
whatever,
cares?
Who cares?
No one knows me, and I've got my
And I
dolls
was
with the
scared.
penis and nuts. What the hell?
So I go on stage. Mitzi lets me go on stage. Mitzi Shore,
Yeah.
right, Polly's mom. And I go on stage, and I get nervous again. And I go, what? And I'm standing there, and I got nothing. And there's this guy. I get off stage, and there's a guy by the name. Well, I had met Mike Binder. Do you know who Mike Binder is?
No.
He's a director and he's a comic. He's a great director and writer. And he did the Mind of the Married Man. That was his. He starred in that and wrote it. Remember that on HBO?
No, go ahead.
Anyway, he's from Detroit. I met him. He introduced me to this guy that was there by the name of George Foster that had a comedy game show called Make Me Laugh.
Right. Remember that.
Right.
And this guy came up to me.
yes.
Bobby Van was the host. And this guy came up to me and he said, "You would be perfect for our game."
Wow. What
Where
a
you
break.
had 60 seconds to make somebody laugh. And for every second they didn't laugh, they won money.
Right.
And I said, "Are you kidding me?" He says, "Yeah, come to my office tomorrow." And it's the first time I go to his office. I'm on vacation at KTLA. It's the first time I've ever been in a TV studio.
Jeez.
And he has me try to make his secretary laugh, and I'm standing there going, "I got nothing. I have nothing." But she starts giggling and laughing.
Right.
You'd be perfect. And they signed me to do. They signed me. They said, "Will you do a
TV
week of
appearance,
shows?"
right.
It's just one day. They shoot 5 shows. It's a
Right.
script.
Jeez, what
so
a
I spend
break.
5 hours there.
Yeah.
And so I go and I spend my time. It's a great and I try to. It's the first time who's on that show. Pat Cooper and Baby Man Bruce Baum.
Yeah.
And Gallagher and me, I think it was.
Wow.
And so I go and I do this show, and I'm trying to make people laugh, and I don't know what it is, but it's a great story to tell. And I fly back, and I'm continuing working. When I fly back, I start getting calls from Mike Douglas.
Wow.
Will you come out and do a set? Merv Griffin, will you come out and do a set?
Wow.
So I fly out, and I do a set on Mike Douglas.
And when you say a
And you
set,
still
you didn't
hardly
really.
had an act.
Right.
Well, you only have to do 4 or 5 minutes. So I had 1 or 2 jokes at this time. I maybe had 6 minutes. So I go out and I do a set on Mike Douglas, and then Merv Griffin sees me, and I do a set on Merv Griffin. Now, at that time, Diana Ross was dating Gene Simmons,
Right.
From Kiss.
Yeah.
Right.
And Gene Simmons saw me on Merv Griffin, and they call me. Diana Ross calls me and says, "I want you to be my opening act
Oh,
at
my
Caesar's
God.
Palace."
Oh, wow.
I didn't have a fucking act. I had nothing. I
Is
was
that
a carpet.
true that you really had no act?
You can watch my tapes. I have nothing.
I just remember you being hysterical. So I
It was just
assumed
to
that
be
you were a
contorting.
seasoned comic.
No, really, nothing.
So, and the carpet business went to hell. That was it.
Went to hell.
And
I
what happened
figured-
to those dolls? You never even got to sell
No.
them?
Did you ever
I
get
got-
the penis and balls
No,
too?
they're at the border.
Howie, real
Yes.
quick. So when you got the job for America's Got Talent,
Right.
I'm assuming David Hasselhoff got fired. I don't know if you guys talk about
But you know, I don't. You would assume that. Except, do you know that he's now the judge on Britain's Got Talent, which is
Yes.
the same company?
But the thing is that it's much more prestigious to be on America's Got Talent.
Yeah,
Not
why did
in
they
Britain.
want him in Britain?
Right, but you know what I mean? I mean, America's Got Talent is
Yeah.
is the big one, and so when you get tapped for that, who thought of you for that?
No idea.
Were you not? You were not a second choice for that kind of thing.
No, except that I have to say that, we travel. I'm doing it here in New York while we're here. We travel around the country, and that set travels around when we're doing. And in the set, we have those big X's.
Yeah.
So those X's, I guess they're loaded into a truck and they're in a big crate.
Right.
And each one has a crate. And you can see, if you come down the theater, I'll show you. There's a crate and it says Sharon Osbourne on the crate. And there's another crate that says Piers Morgan. And my crate, in kind of Sharpie, it says Howie, and David Hasselhoff is scribbled out. So you can still see it.
So when you get America's Got Talent, which I think is another great gig, right?
It's the best gig I've ever had.
But I get the feel. I kind of read somewhere you don't like Piers Morgan, or he gets on your nerves, or something.
Well, here's what's happening now. What's happening now. Piers Morgan fancies himself an erudite, like a very